Hey, everybody. Welcome back. We're so glad that you decided to come back. Hopefully, we've done something right. Um, you are listening to Teaching Band from the Beginning. I'm your host, Tim Basil. How's it going? And with us again, as always, is our co host, Olivia Spell. Olivia,
What's good in the hood?
what kind of day did you have today?
Whew, today was a rough one. I'm not gonna lie, but we're hanging in there.
It's,
Just finished watching some Avengers and
oh my
eating
goodness.
popcorn, so it's a good day, right?
It's Avengers and popcorn is always a good day, no matter what else
That's right.
happens. So we wanted just to let our listeners know it's what is today's date anyways? At the
The
21st,
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 because
April
yesterday was
21st,
420.
April, oh Lord, April 21st, 2020. And for all you history buffs out there, we are right in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic. And so we wanted to get this podcast up and rolling, and all of a sudden the virus hit. So we felt that we would be remiss if we did not talk about how band teachers specifically are handling this new distance learning, um, this new way of teaching, and particularly for band. I think I don't think it's going away anytime soon. The social distancing.
Nope,
I think.
agreed.
What do you think? It's going to take a while to for the curve to go down, and for it's not going to happen overnight. That's for sure.
For
Um,
sure. And I think, we were having a conversation with one of our administrators today, and, it's not only making the decision to, go back to school or not to go back to school, it's all the other questions of what is it going to look like? What are we going to have to do? What are going to be the new procedures and protocols and all of those things? So, yeah, I definitely think we're in it for the long haul.
exactly right, and like what's it going to look like? Because it's not going to look like it did before we left. So
Sure.
going into the new school year, fall 2020, something I think we need and want to help people get prepared for. I think the good thing is, I don't know about you, but I am, like it or not, getting thrown into having to use all these new digital resources. Um, and so hopefully when we come out of this, we'll be a little more tech savvy, whether we like it or not, but probably for the better.
Absolutely.
So, so uh, with us today to discuss this and how we go about talking with and teaching our band kids with over the computer and the digital learning and distance learning and not being in a band room together, um, is the we have today with us. He's the band director at Hickory Middle School in Chesapeake, Virginia. He's been teaching middle school for 14 years, so we'd like to welcome with us today KJ Stafford. KJ, how's it going?
Welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. So I think I I kind of think like there was this. This reminds me of when I was younger. One of my friends was telling me how and I'm sure everyone's heard this same story of how their dad taught them how to swim. And a friend of mine, Johnny, said the way my dad taught me was he picked me up and threw me in the deep end. And I kind of feel like that's how we're figuring this thing out as we're rolling. Some people say it's we're driving a car or flying an airplane like as we're building it.
Absolutely.
So
That's what it feels like most days.
yeah. So KJ, we wanted to get like a real world perspective of someone who's actually doing it. Um, you're a middle school band director in Virginia. How many students do you have in your band program?
Right now, I think it's about 350-ish from grades 6, 7, and 8 in the
Grade
middle
six,
school.
7, and 8. Okay. And um, what before they kicked us out of school, what was your daily schedule? Did you see all the kids every day, or was it a B schedule, or
We see every class every day. We have for 40 minutes each class, and so it's two bells of 8th grade, two bells of 7th grade, and two bells of 6th grade at 40 minutes each.
okay? So and each grade is split up, is like split up woodwind and brass.
We do. I guess if you start at the first level with sixth grade, we start with just one instrument per class. So there's a clarinet group.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
So it's just all separated by instrument, and then in seventh grade it's by instrument family. So there's a woodwind bell and a brass bell, and then in eighth grade it's like symphonic band or concert band or whatever you want to call it. Because we do have besides me, there's another teacher there full time, and for sixth grade, one of the high school teachers comes down as well. Uh, excuse me. So that's how we're able to divide up sixth grade by instrument type.
That's
Okay.
awesome.
All right, that is good. That's a fantastic schedule, and I like how you refer to each of the classes as bells,
As bells,
because
yeah.
if being a teacher, you live by the bell, right? The bell rules your day. You know when you're going to eat, depending on which bell it is, or when you get to go home. Yeah. So,
Right.
right. Um, where you are, let me ask you this. When we went to this distance learning, um, our school district where we are in North Carolina at first said, okay, you can do continued learning. We're not going to introduce any new stuff until this particular date. We're not going to grade anything. We're not going to require anything. At this point, what is your school district set for you guys up there in Virginia as far as guidelines?
So the first closure was just announced for 2 weeks. Like I think a lot of people did kind of a progressive thing, and so um, I was mentioning before we started recording the podcast that my city teaching is pretty large. There's 7 high schools and 10 middle schools, all with music programs in them, and there's quite a variety of just situations within all of those schools. So when we closed for the first 2 weeks, everything just kind of was put on pause for a second because the city had to figure out equity issues and things like that. And we
Oh
can't
yeah, sure.
we can't move forward if certain people can't access certain things. So for the first 2 weeks, they put out generic like review packets that did not come from the teachers; they came from the city, and just parents and students could work on those at home, non-graded activities.
Okay.
Then after the end of that, at the end of the 2 weeks, the governor closed us for the rest of the year, and so we got together with our music supervisor as a department and put together maybe a little bit more detailed, but still generic learning packet kind of thing because they're still trying to figure out what to do. So that took us through 4 weeks of closure, and then last week was our spring break officially. So this week started what they're calling phase 3, where we can actually start to push out information to our students the way we want to. But the same as what we're not grading anything. There's no assignments. We're careful to use the word like activities, things like that.
Right, right. Yep. Be careful how you label things. And I think one thing you said there, that the administration is kind of trying to figure it out as they go as well. So it really truly is. Everyone's just trying to figure this thing out um, as we're doing it. It's not like we had a summer's worth of warning to tell us what the new way was. It was just all of a sudden, bam. Was it today or yesterday, Olivia? We discovered that our last day in school was Friday the 13th.
Well, that was this morning. Yeah, we were talking about it was Friday the 13th and a full moon, which we were all so worried about. And that was now 6 weeks ago. So trying to keep treading and not dwell on that. But I do have a quick question for you, KJ. You said so all of you sat down with you said a music supervisor or like a fine arts supervisor. Can you elaborate more on that?
We have a music supervisor. He overlooks the whole city, instrumental music, because every high school, middle school has band, chorus, orchestra, and as well as all the elementary schools, have general music, as well as fifth grade has orchestra. So he oversees, a ton of schools and all the teachers. So we just had Zoom, like a band Zoom meeting, and I'm sure he had a chorus Zoom meeting, an orchestra Zoom meeting, and just started putting things together. But we do have a supervisor just for music in our district.
That's awesome. And he just kind of led you guys in the conversation of like what the phase 1 and 2 and 3 and everything should look like.
Yeah, sort of like, translating from, because, understandably with the big school system, when the administration is putting a plan together, they're probably less concerned with band than they are with like AP government. You know what I mean?
Sure, absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah.
sure,
So
especially
he was
when
able to kind of
there's
dissect and translate specifically to us what the music message was going to be based on what the plan was from downtown.
That's awesome. That sounds like a really, really great chain of command for you guys, and not just in this situation. I'm sure it's very beneficial in lots of different respects.
I bet it helps here a lot. Yeah. So what's the main way that you're communicating with your students now? Do you guys have like a Google Classroom set up or
Yeah,
kind of
I had to learn a lot of that. Like you said, like we're learning it on the fly. But during the time when we were pushing out information, I sent a couple emails. I really wanted to be conscientious to not be overwhelming or to do too many. Uh,
right? Agreed.
I
Yeah.
tried to just reach out and touch base and say hello, miss you guys, and mainly try to get them to sign up for the Google Classroom so that when we could get to this point, we'd have them in there. And I think as of today, when we counted, we've been able to get, you know, all but maybe like 10% of the kids into a Google Classroom. So pretty high percentage. And so we could transition into that. Now we are doing tomorrow a Google Meet with each grade level just to talk to them.
Okay. Yeah.
We've been really tentative to do too much because um, me just watching like Facebook and watching like just my neighborhood Facebook group, right? Like non-teachers, community members,
Sure.
watching their reaction to each step of the plan and seeing how overwhelmed people felt because
Absolutely.
not like in the loop. I forgot, you know, sometimes reading them, I'd forget that I knew things maybe that they didn't know yet.
Right.
And so just being totally aware of how overwhelming this is for families, you know, we didn't want to do too much. So now tomorrow we're going to meet and touch base, just say hi to the kids, and, you know, show them like hold my dog up or whatever, and just because honestly, as far as like music education goes, I don't see any way there's anything that we teach between now and the end of the year that all of a sudden sticks and we don't have to teach it again next year, right? So whatever
Yeah.
chunk of
That's
skill.
a really good point, actually, especially in middle school band.
Especially
At
from
this
the
point,
middle school perspective, I was really concerned. A thought crossed my mind. I was like, what would happen if this had happened in the very beginning of the school year? You know, before your beginners learned even how to put their instruments together. What would, you know, we could be in a lot worse shape than we are right now.
Yeah, so we're just trying to keep them engaged with some things, knowing full well that there's really nothing worth overwhelming them for because no matter what, we're gonna. So like, say the next thing on our list is we're gonna teach like the concert C scale to the woodwinds. Well, it's
Yeah.
not like we can teach that now and then show up in September and not have to reteach it again, right?
absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
I am experiencing, you know, looking at the option of like, hey, I'll do a YouTube video and put it on a private YouTube channel and say, hey, for you, because there are kids that are like total go getters that they want those things.
They'll eat that up.
Yeah,
Sure.
hey, if you want this thing, we'll consider it enrichment. But we realize that the year is going to have to start with that next year anyway. Honestly, our primary goal is just keeping them engaged, keeping them in communication. I can't imagine not being in touch with the kids from March all the way till September and having, you know, like lose that connection that we try to have as a program. Um, just to try to make sure that they understand we value them and they're an important part of the program so that when we come back, everybody's ready to jump in and do it. So it's really just about communication for us more than anything right now.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's a great way of looking at it is thinking it as enrichment. You know, let's just you know, let's keep band on their mind and let's just, you know, the skills that they have, let's keep those in their fingers. You know, let's just keep the milk from spoiling, so to speak. What do you think about that, Olivia?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I was just going to comment on what KJ said, the key piece being communication. You know, our kids so often are in it for the social aspect and for, you know, the way it makes them feel and how they get to use it as a release and all those types of things. So keeping that line open has been really, really important. I know for us, KJ, Tim and I had our first meet with our kids right before spring break, and we had over 50 of our like 80-ish like concert band and wind ensemble kids come. And after the first 20 minutes, I gave my spiel, I did all the business stuff, and then for the next hour they just talked and, you know, showed their dogs
Yeah,
like you
it was
said,
just
or their
hangout
stuffed
time,
animals, or
socialize.
yeah, and it was so good for my soul and so sad all at the same time. So I'm excited for you to get to experience that with your kids tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for that, and just want to make sure that they're desperate for communication too, and make sure we can do that and things like that. But yeah, we're putting some activities up like Smart Music. We don't really use Smart Music, but they opened up and allowed for some free accounts during all this.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So
Smart Music, and Olivia, you set this up for us, but Smart Music has opened up some free accounts for band directors
Mhm.
to use. Tell us a little bit more about that?
It's super easy. You just email Smart Music. I believe Smart Music actually had a specific form on their website that you just go in, you type in your school name, you tell them how many subscriptions you need, and then they send you a code for you to share with your kids. And then the kids can go and create free accounts using that code. And it's super easy. And we're in KJ's boat. We don't really use Smart Music, but we've gotten the free accounts because it's there. I think that's been one really awesome humanitarian act of all of these companies is Smart Music and Sight Reading Factory and U Theory, and there's all these really cool websites and resources out there that are offering free subscriptions that some of us may not normally use on a regular basis. So
On a regular basis, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
KJ, what are you mentioned Smart Music? What are you doing with your kids with as far as Smart Music?
so I think the asset for that right now for us is the fact that they can just type in a piece of concert music and hear the whole band playing along with them. And so in my information I'm putting out like every 2 weeks, starting now, every 2 weeks till the end of the year, like what we're calling a choice board. So there's like 3 or 4 options that they can choose from, and one of the options is go experiment with this piece of music, and they don't know what to look for. So every 2 weeks, I'm listing for each grade level, like try this tune or try this tune, things that are just like pieces we would normally play with 6th grade or 7th grade, um, just to kind of guide them to find it, and they're free to do whatever they want. They can go find whatever music they want up there. But like I noticed the first time I ever got a Spotify subscription was when you have access to literally everything. It's like paralyzing. Like I don't know what to look for at that point. So I'm trying to like guide them
Right.
to what to look for to try to play along with. So
It's like looking at a really, really good buffet. You just don't know where to start.
right. So I'm trying to point them in that direction, and then I don't care what they end up playing. Just something to play and have fun.
And I think that's a big aspect about it, of giving them the freedom, like the choice board. We're kind of using that too. It looks like a bingo card, or a tic-tac-toe board, and the students get to choose which ones they do, the order that they do them in, and it just empowers them. And I think they enjoy being in charge of their own learning like that. Um, so so the kids are perusing Smart Music. Do you have them submit stuff to you? Um,
We try to figure
recordings
out how to
or
streamline that, so that we're not having to search every place for something. Um, so we've just told them to go back to the Google Classroom, and we sent the choice board out as like an assignment on there, and have
yeah,
them respond to that and tell us like what they did. If they want us, some kids, like I've had a kid like record himself and then send that to me from his Google Drive so I could hear it or whatever. Again, like we're not necessarily like trying to achieve any specific target. We're just trying to do a general sense of connection and continue to play. So I haven't been overly specific about how to communicate or how to turn it in, or especially there's no grades or anything. And I think some of them get overwhelmed with everything that's going on right now. So like we want to be the easy, just relaxing part of it all for them.
Absolutely. And because Virginia's already closed for the rest of the year, yeah?
Yeah, are you guys not?
Not
not
yet. We got an
officially. Yeah.
email today saying that we are planning to
Keep
go back May
keep your ears
18th.
open.
Yeah,
Decisions coming
so
soon.
we had a 2 week closure, and at the end of that 2 week closure, we were gone for the rest of the year. So honestly, the things for this year is like what I was just saying, but my mind has gone to what do I need to do to not make long term effects? Like obviously, we don't know what we're going to come
Yeah.
back in the fall, but what
Right.
planning do I need to do to not have this have a 3 year impact on my program? How can I recover from it? Not just playing wise, but logistically. Like, for example, one big thing, or two big things on my mind. One is we don't start any color instruments in 6th grade.
Ah.
What
So
instruments do you start in 6th grade?
flute, clarinet, saxophone, trumpet, trombone, percussion.
Okay.
Okay.
So then at the end of 6th grade, we select kids to transfer over. We do a little summer camp. We have coaches come in and teach them tuba, bassoon, horn, oboe, whatnot. So one of my first concerns is if I first of all, if I can't do summer band, how do I transfer? I can't have a band without tuba. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
So how do I do that? And even if I can do summer, how do I really pitch these instruments and explain it to the kids and pick the right kids when we can't just like sit down in the class and do it. So that's a major one for me. I don't want to take that hit for 3 years.
Absolutely.
And then the other one is how we have kids pick their instrument for 6th grade. We meet with every kid and their family one-on-one throughout.
Wow.
Yeah. And we sit down, they schedule an appointment. We sit down and we go through the instruments, to make sure that a kid who can't buzz on a trumpet mouthpiece doesn't pick trumpet, or a kid that we had, for example, we had a student who only has one arm and he wanted to play saxophone. So we had to explain that wasn't necessarily something that would be really easily feasible, that maybe a trumpet would be a better option.
Sure.
We meet with kids to set them up, and I worry that if we don't get to do those, it'll affect the instrumentation starting 6th grade next year.
Right.
Absolutely.
So then a couple of things with that. It's like, okay, so logistically, how do I set that up? Because in the past, I've set it up, when we're at school and face to face and setting that stuff up. And then the other thing is, well, what if I can't do that the way I've been doing it? How am I going to do it? You can't not have have kids move to tuba. So now, I'm going to have to adjust my planning for the fall, to make that happen. These are all things, long-term effects that to consider, I think. And
Absolutely. And
like,
I was gonna have KJ elaborate for a second with talking to every kid about what instrument they're gonna choose. How do you find those kids? Are you concerned about recruitment? Like, what is normally your recruitment plan for 5th graders going into 6th grade band before they get to that appointment of choosing an instrument?
Fortunately, we do our scheduling in our school system very early.
Okay.
They do that in February, so I've already got my name to my 6th graders next year. It would be really problematic if we had not done that yet. And we had the good and bad of this is we had a really good recruiting year. We have 198 kids signed up for 6th grade, so our program will be quite a bit bigger next year. We used to be bigger, but we got rezoned. But then they're building more houses, and it's getting bigger again.
now it's coming back up.
So
Sure.
it's great that we have a big number, but it's just on a year like this where we're not sure how we're going to deal with it. But we'll figure it out.
But you already have those names, so that's comforting that step was already complete before you left school.
Fortunately, my guidance director is really, really great, and my administration is great, and I've already got parent email addresses and everything, so I can totally contact those people and do that.
That's very
awesome.
fortunate, because I could see a lot of band teachers now at this point, as far as the recruiting aspect, just stumbling around in a dark room trying to find the door, and where do you start, and how do you contact these parents, and who's going to respond, just because the situation is just so different. I've done in the past with recruiting for middle school, um, new instrument night, or come meet the band teacher night, and without being able to do those things, you can record that on a Zoom or a Google Meet, but how effective is that compared to meeting with a family face to face and answering questions and getting to know them? I mean, that's just that's it starts to get scary when you really start to think about it.
Well, and then the other thing is that none of us know yet is, are we going to lose kids because the economy's changed and their parents don't have a job and they can't rent an instrument anymore? There's
Oh, absolutely.
kinds of layers to this that we don't know yet.
And you're right, layers and this domino effect, and just the unknown. Like, is this all gonna? When is this all gonna go back to normal? But I don't know the answer. I don't know if anybody knows the answer. So, but have you? We haven't really listened to our kids play, like, together. Olivia, have we, with, having them play do like an acapella? Everyone, here's what I'm saying. Everyone's like, hey, why don't you just do a Zoom? And it is crazy,
It don't work.
insane. There's this thing called a time delay. And if you try to get kids to play their instrument, it's just that just doesn't work. And
All the videos of people on acapella and the virtual choirs and the virtual I'm envious because I tried and I failed multiple times. I don't know how they do it.
I just still think like it's you're in a boxing match or a fight, and you're ready to go and you're trained, and you get in there, and then they say, oh, by the way, we're going to tie your hands behind your back, we're going to blindfold you, we're going to tie your feet together, ready to
Good
go.
luck.
And good luck figuring it out. I really feel that that's the kind of situation we're in, and that anything we can do, and I think what's the word that KJ used earlier? It was just enrichment.
Enrichment. I like it.
Just keep the kids, like we said, we wanted to have them for at least a portion of the day, have band in the front of your mind. So something else that people don't think about, and that I don't think we think about right away, is not everyone has access to a laptop at home, or if they do, um, they don't have Wi-Fi, or they're sharing a Chromebook with siblings to try to get their work done. Um, and some home situations are just rowdy. I know it's hard for me to get work done when my dogs are running back and forth and they start jumping on each other. Just I can imagine just the atmosphere that is just it's not sitting in a classroom at a remote location. And I think people need to understand that it's very, very different than that.
Well,
Absolutely.
I was just going to say, I just seeing a lot of different people do a lot of different things. Especially we have a larger school system, so having people give different pieces of input. It's just, I think you have to be, maybe it seems pessimistic. I think it's realistic that we're not in a normal scenario, so we can't expect normal results. And
I think you just hit the nail on the head. We are not under normal circumstances, so you can't expect normal results.
yeah, I think people are trying to get to the same place they always would be in this unusual circumstance. I think we just have to be realistic about it and be fair to the kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So for the 10% that you haven't been able to get in the Google Classroom, what's your plan for contacting them or reaching out to them or including them in whatever communication you have?
Well, we're gonna, we've sent a couple emails to the parents, and tomorrow when we see the rest of the class, we're hoping. A lot of times, word gets out via text and things like that. So if
Yeah.
even today, I had some kids contacting me that weren't in the classroom and saying, how do I get in the classroom? How do I get in the classroom? Because their friends are saying we're going to meet, and so
Right, they're hearing it on a peer level, so it's a little more impactful.
So we're hopeful that, and we'll just say tomorrow, hey, if you know any friends who aren't in the class, tell them to get in the class. But I mean, honestly, our school system's standpoint on this right now is we can't force anybody to do anything. We're not going to like drive to there. We're gonna try the best we can to provide the best we can, but
Yeah.
we can't control what we can't control.
We're going to offer what we can. Our school had set up times for people to come pick up a Chromebook. I think they had some hotspots. I know some locations were, or what was it, Spectrum, I think, was giving away free Wi-Fi or something like that. But you do all those things, but you can't expect 100% of the kids to do 100% of the activities. It's also, you can't expect, if students are in school 7 hours a day, you can't expect them in this situation to do 7 hours of work.
I can't even watch 7 hours of Netflix. I mean, I've tried a couple of days.
It's too much. It's too much commitment.
Exactly, right. And you It's just unrealistic. And if you really really put a stopwatch on a kid, um, and follow them around school in a regular setting, they're not doing engaged learning for 7 full hours. You
Then
know,
I think we need to evaluate our school day, but that's another podcast for another night.
I think, but I mean, just logistically, getting into the school, getting to your classroom, switching classes, um, setup time, pack up time, lunch. I mean, just all of those things. Um, you know, it's not 7 full hours of instruction, and I think like KJ said, unusual circumstances, we can expect, normal outcomes.
Absolutely.
So, what would you say, either of you guys, what would you say to a beginning teacher or someone who is, student teaching now, and they're getting ready to go interview for jobs? Um, I think back when I had just graduated and I was getting ready to interview, and I think I could wrap my head around it and know that, okay, I'm gonna go, what I wanna do is go to a school and teach, and I know that I'm gonna be in a band room and I'm gonna teach instruments, or even depending on, you didn't even know the grade level yet, but at least you had those things that you could count on that were gonna happen. I mean, I'm just wondering how these people that are getting ready to go get their first job, how they're trying to wrap their head around what school is gonna be like in the fall.
I had a former student reach out to me last week. She's graduating from JMU, this semester or whatnot, and she's trying to work on getting jobs. And we were talking about the same thing, like, but from talking to her, it didn't seem like. I mean, it's not like any of this is not on her mind, but it's just like any college kid. They're just focused on getting a job. You know what I mean? Like step one is like,
Right.
can I get a
Yeah.
job and get paid? And then I think once you get a job, I don't think the reality has hit them yet what it's all going to entail. Just like I don't think the reality, even in a normal circumstance, when a kid gets out of college and gets a job, it doesn't hit you
Mhm.
right away. So I don't know if necessarily what advice I have because I don't even know yet what I'm trying to do myself.
Right.
But talking to her, it was interesting. Like it's not that she's unaware of it; it's obviously a unique circumstance. But priority one's just like, can I get an interview? Can I get a job?
Right. Yeah. And I think kind of piggybacking on what KJ said, I spoke to one of my former kids this morning, and, the last thing she said was, I'm getting my resume together to send out to some places. And part of me was thinking, you're like you said, you're not even realizing the severity of the situation right now. But now that I think about it, that might be a positive because they certainly don't need to wait until all this is over to try to reach out to people and email principals. And so I think if I had to give one piece of advice, it would be, get your name out there, make sure your resume is intact, start emailing people, make touch with principals, talk to your colleagues, your former teachers, find out where their openings are going to be. So you're not behind the 8 ball. And whenever this does clear up and we do go back to, whatever normal is going to be now, you have some feelers. I think that would be my one piece of advice. Because, like you said, they're just looking for a job at this point. And so
Right.
I think it would behoove them, if you will, to, go ahead and be making those connections. But I also think back to a conversation we were already having, we have no idea what type of long-term ramifications are coming of all of this. And that could be one of them, jobs in general, you know.
For sure. For sure. So I guess wrapping up, the one thing that we do know is, social distancing isn't going away tomorrow. We're going to do the phase 1 and the phase 2, and then I hear people talking about a first and a second and a third wave of the virus, and there's just so many, unknowns right now. But I think what we found that kind of gave us a little bit, made me feel, a little more grounded, is just let's do plan A, B, C, and D. And right now we're on plan A. So as far as I'm concerned, we're heading toward plan A. And then when we hit and we know it's got to switch to plan B, so at least we have some targets, you know. So the other thing, like I mentioned before, was um just getting thrown into this digital distance learning literally overnight. Um KJ, I don't know how your system's set up. I'm sure it's something similar. Um, but we have to get what are they? Continued education units. And my license is up for renewal this year. And I need one more credit, and it needs to be a DLC, the digital learning credit. Well, this
Of course it does.
opportunity has just fallen into my lap because, you know, Google Meet. We do this podcast on Google Meet, and we meet with our kids on Google Meet and the Zoom. And I just was going through a whole list of using the Google Classroom and using the Sight Reading Factory and Smart Music and YouTube and Acapella, all these different resources that I didn't really know were there. I didn't really have time to think about it, you know, when I'm trying to, in a regular situation, trying to run class on a daily basis. So at least looking on the bright side, I think we're going to come out a little bit smarter on the back end of this. So I don't know, just trying to find a silver lining.
No, I mean, I'm not like anti-technology. I try to consider myself to keep up with it, but there's so many different things that it's hard to keep up with. So being forced to do this has been cool.
Right, right. So, well, that's. I think we had a really good discussion. I think we talked about some things that really needed to be talked about. I'm hoping that, well, we being high school directors, we are definitely band on all summer long. I think a lot of other teachers, and not just band teachers, um, that in the past were able to shut it off or maybe have a second job over the summer and then turn it back on when school time comes around. Are not going to have that luxury this summer because we're going to be spending the summer figuring out how we're going to do the fall. So
Absolutely.
I would just advise us and our colleagues and anyone listening to just um, stay in tune with each other and network and talk and ask questions and stay in the loop. I think
Absolutely.
best
We're
course of
all in this together.
get it,
Bum,
get
bum,
it, get it.
bum, bum, bum. I don't know the next line. I need to learn the next
You
line.
don't need to learn the next line because that was
That's
just
all that
fire.
matters.
That was just fire. KJ, this is how we do it. So you were supposed to join in.
Are we gonna demonstrate the time delay now and how that
Yeah,
works
no,
over
no, no, no.
Zoom?
We're not going to demonstrate the time delay because then everyone's gonna comment about our timing issues and how we should use a metronome, and we know all those things, and we don't want to read those.
Put the metronome in the back. Make sure
Right.
that
So KJ,
awesome.
the beach is over. How close do you live to the beach?
Virginia Beach, I can get there in about 30 minutes. I mean, to the
Oh,
front.
So
Um,
maybe the weekend. Do you think they're going to let you on the beach? You're not a beach resident. What's going to happen?
uh, I don't know what people are doing out there. I think that you're allowed to go there as long as you're not, close to people or whatnot. When we go to the beach, we tend to drive down to the Outer Banks. So just because it takes to get about an hour to get just south of Nag's Head to like the first place we can like drive out onto the beach. So we're
that's a
hoping
lot of fun.
that's more fun for us. So we're hoping they'll open up the Outer Banks again soon, and we can
We
do that.
hope so too, for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's one of our go-tos for the summer. So
Because apparently I've got a lot of free time this summer that I don't have.
absolutely.
Oh, sad
Oh Lord,
day.
all the
Womp, womp,
time, all
womp.
the free time.
Oh, goodness.
Well, KJ, thank you for coming aboard and talking with us today. Olivia,
Don't forget
I'll
to
see
like
you
and
when I see you.
subscribe. Like and
Don't
subscribe.
forget to like and subscribe on the podcast. Go to the YouTube channel. Folks, thanks for tuning in and listening. I'm going to try to find the stop record button, and we'll see you next time on Teaching Band from the Beginning.